action. Hi, I'm Bill.
Hi, I'm Laurie.
And welcome to our channel. It's the 19th of May, 2024. Laurie and I got out early this morning and hit the courts to do a couple, 2.5 hours of drilling. And in this video, we're going to share with you a couple of things. One, I felt that I needed to have a better idea of what is meant by, oh, this is a power paddle, oh, this is a control paddle. And so I thought I would start with Selkirk's definitions of what is a control paddle and what is a power paddle from a player perspective. I'm a rec player, 3-5 at best, and everyone's game is a little bit different. So what you think may be a power paddle may be different than what Laurie and I think may be a power paddle, and vice versa when it comes to the control panel. So what I have in my bag is the Selkirk Control Air Lux. Had this for a while, 20 millimeter. This is supposed to be their control paddle. Now, not to be confused with the Selkirk Halo, which they also refer to as more of a control paddle versus a power paddle. And this is only a 13 millimeter paddle. But I decided to get, there's a store in Foster City called Zales, and they have a demo program. So I went over to see if they have the Selkirk Power Air that I could take out on demo and get a feel, figuring that this is what Selkirk says is a power paddle, the most, more power than control, and then Selkirk says the Lux is more control than power. So I'm going to play with this paddle during the week, some rec play and everything, so I can do a comparison. And
What was the thickness of that one?
this one here I think is 13 millimeters. I'll put a link to the Selkirk site in the video description. I did hit with this paddle a little bit, and my first impressions were it was definitely plusher than the Control Air.
What do you mean by plusher?
Well, the ball kind of stayed on the paddle a little bit longer, less poppy. This kind of felt, if you watch some of our other videos, kind of like the Rhombus R1.16, or when I played with the first generation of the Ben Johns Hyperion, or if you've seen lately, we have a great offer in the video description for an AMA Sport Chronos 16 millimeter raw carbon fiber paddle, and we have a discount code for that. So this played a similar. Now this is $140 range, and the Chronos is under $100, and then there's our discount for an additional 10%. If you're interested, you can take a look at that in the video description. But I think this week, I'm not going to focus on this paddle. It's really going to be these two paddles here. In my mind, from the Selkirk perspective, it's both ends of the spectrum. And so I'm going to have some initial thoughts of using it today. Laurie?
So almost the same when you compare them? Yeah.
As far as shape?
And
yeah. And
dimensions?
I think that the Lux handle might be 1/4 of an inch, maybe longer or something, but we'll get into that. But this morning, both Laurie and I used the Power Air, and I had watched some videos, and I was concerned that we're going to be spraying the ball all over the place and everything. So that was not the case this morning. But we started with dinking, And then we did some drop shots or standard drill of dropping from the baseline into the kitchen where we bounced the ball and then hit a drop in. What do? We did serves, returns, and then we did some blocking with the Power Air. Each of us took turns. And so do you want to start with your thoughts, or would you like me to start with my thoughts?
You could start with yours.
Okay, so again, I think what helped me with this paddle here and have as much control as I seem to have today. Now, pickleball is a funny thing. Every day can be a little bit different. But some of the videos I've seen where people are talking about the Power Air and how it doesn't fit their game, they couldn't get control of it, and those type of things, I'm sure that was real for them, and I'm sure some of that was based upon the type of game that they might be playing. But since I was already using the Conor Garnett, and I don't know, we've had it a month or so, maybe 2 months now, this paddle was not that difficult. The power difference between these two paddles doesn't seem that great. Clearly, the power difference between these two paddles, as Selkirk would tell you, this is definitely more powerful. But again, this is supposed to be their control paddle, and it does afford a lot of control. The other thing I noticed is I was more compact with all my swings to kind of adjust for the additional power that this paddle can provide. So I found myself swinging less hard and shorter, more compact hits of the ball. I was able to get good spin on serves, and clearly I felt the power on the serves. A little bit more power maybe than the Conor Garnett. Again, I'm going to have to play with this paddle some more and play with this paddle some more. But on returns, clearly I dialed back on the power. And for me, a lot of the success I had with this paddle today was my grip pressure. And that was like on blocking, and either forehand or backhand was having a little bit looser grip pressure to kind of do more of a drop volley. So I was kind of really surprised based upon some of the videos I've seen around this paddle where people felt they had a hard time with it. And again, I can understand that. Again, if they were always playing a control paddle and now they move up to this, I could see where they could have some challenges. But I felt today on my shots, both forehand and backhand, I was pretty good accuracy. Now, the length of this handle is clearly shorter than the 6-inch handle on the Conor Garnett paddle. So when I do a two-handed backhand, I have to overlay my hands a little bit more than maybe I have to on the longer handle, but really not a problem for me. Drops and digging some balls down at my feet out, really very little, if any, swing to get that ball back over the net. Again, this, I guess some people would say, is poppy, and to some that means the ball really pops off. But I felt I was able, through my grip pressure today, to control the amount of pop that was coming off the paddle. Now, I don't think 6 or 8 months ago, where my skill level was at the time, I would have had the same results as I had today. Clearly, early on, I was putting everything out of the court, and probably because I had the death grip on the paddle and all kinds of stuff. So again, as your skill level increases, I think you have a greater opportunity to have success with a power paddle. That's my take. So that's kind of what I have to say about this paddle. I have it on loan for the week, and I'm going to continue to include it in rec play, in addition to kind of a game strategy lesson that we're having tomorrow for an hour and a half with a couple that we sometimes play pickleball with, and our coach Marcia Nishi will be leading that lesson. So I will also use it there, based upon the ability, the success I had today with drop shots. Marcia's big on drop shots, so I was doing pretty good with this for drop shots today. All right, so that's my thoughts. You go on and give your thoughts.
Well, actually, I played with this paddle maybe 2 years ago when we were at nationals, and I just felt it was very difficult to hit. And you know, we were just thinking in front of the demo tent, but I thought, oh, this paddle is definitely not for me. And so lately I've been playing with a Connor Garnett, and it's got a trim handle, and we've been drilling quite a bit, so I think just in the last month my skills have gotten a lot better. And so this has provided a lot of pop for me and not overly powerful. So I was really comfortable playing with that, and I really didn't want to even try this Selkirk today, but I did. And I was really surprised that, I guess because my skill levels improved, that I was able to use this paddle, and it did provide a lot more pop. Just maybe if you're in the wrong position, you were still able to, direct the ball correctly. And I was really surprised that I really did like this paddle. And then I decided, well, I wonder if I could play with my old Anna Bright. This is last generation of the Scorpius 14 millimeter. And I had a very difficult time playing with this. I got it for my birthday last year, and after about 6 months I put it down. I just really couldn't play with this paddle. But because we've been drilling, because I've been practicing, I was really able to hit this paddle too. So I was really surprised. So I guess actually I think a lot of it has to do with your skill development. So that's my conclusion, that when you get better, you're able to use a lot of different paddles and still have success. But comparing the paddles, this one is a lot more powerful, I thought. Very little effort to get the ball back, the same shot. But then at the end of our practice session, I used this one, and this one is even more poppy than the Power Air. I was really surprised, but very happy that I've been getting better and I can use this paddle too. But the big difference, I think, is this one, these two have the smaller handle circumference, which is a lot easier for me, a lot more comfortable. And this one is very light. I ordered a 7.2, and then I found that was just too light, and so I added some lead tape on the sides just to increase the weight, and so now it's a 7.6. But so this paddle is the lightest and very easy to swing, but more poppy than this Power Air, I think.
Okay, and I think, Laurie points out something that's very important. I think as your skill level improves, what your thoughts might be about a paddle, whatever that paddle may be, will probably evolve. And, what I wanted to talk a little bit about was power versus control. And if you're brand new and you don't understand that concept and you haven't played with paddles, you might not know which way to go. So that's why I think if you go to our video description and click on the link to the AMA Sport Chronos paddle, um, that is a type of paddle. There's many companies coming out with that style of paddle, and I would say that that is what I would call a well-balanced paddle, in the sense that it's, you know, got a good representation of both power and control. Yes, you give up a little power, but you make it up on the control. Yes, you give up maybe a little bit of control, but you make it up on the power, if that makes sense. So that AMA Sport Chronos paddle, if someone came up to me today and they said, you know, they just want to start playing pickleball, there's so many paddles to choose from, I wouldn't hesitate to recommend that paddle to someone to play with. Again, it's under $100, plus there's a discount. You know, these are in the $250 range. How much was your?
This was $249.
$249. This was $209 with a from Pro XR, the Connor Garnett Signature Series, but there is a small discount available for that. And the Halo here, again, is $140, but for the limited time that I played with it, I didn't see much difference between the AMA Sport Chronos, which is under $100, and this is $140. Now there are things.
Is
go
this
ahead.
one the same? Almost the same?
Well, it says here it's a 13 millimeter.
Oh, okay, this one has a longer handle, because this is, it's even longer than the Joola and a Bright. That's kind of, I didn't realize the handle, I guess, is really made for a two-handed backhand. It's almost the same dimensions, though. Yeah. Now, the one thing I forgot to mention is both the Connor Garnett and the Invicta are a little bit longer, and so about half an inch longer, so maybe you might get a little bit more length out of it if you're a short person.
Yeah, so for those that may be new to pickleball and are not already familiar, this is what the shape is called, an elongated paddle. And as you can see, this paddle has more width. Some people will say that when it comes to the sweet spot, that this style shaped paddle may have a bigger sweet spot than an elongated paddle. But again, that's why I think as a beginner, if there's so many paddles like out and available in the under $100 range, if you look for what's maybe called a balanced paddle when it comes to power versus control, and then figure out what shape you like. Again, unless you play with a paddle shape like this and a paddle shape like that, it'll be hard for you to understand what the differences might be. So that's why I think our recommendation is don't spend a lot of money necessarily on your first paddle when you're starting out.
But it does get addicting to try new technology.
I'm going to put a picture in. Our neighbor was out at the courts this morning, and he has a Kevlar paddle that he just purchased. I'll put that.
And that is a really nice paddle, too.
Yeah.
I forgot the name of it. What was it?
So
and it had a really nice case.
Yeah, I'll put a picture in. We both did some serves and some blocks and those type of things with us. He let us use it. But what Laurie just said, and that was a nice paddle. There is this range of $100 paddles like the AMA Sport Chronos. They're nice paddles. So, you know, how much nicer are these $250 paddles? You know.
Well, this one's the prettiest. I think of all the paddles on the market, this is the prettiest paddle. But it's really made for people that have a tendency to hit the ball out, I think, because you have to generate most of your own power. And I'm a small person, and I think it just absorbed too much for me.
Yeah. And you know, we kind of do the videos like this to try to help those people that may be new to pickleball, and maybe they got a paddle because they saw everybody else has a similar paddle at the court, so they just decided, okay, let me start there. And you know, because we've done that, and you know, but these days with the range of $100 and less paddles, or even the Selkirk with the halo at around the 140. Yeah, there's a difference. Like I think Selkirk may have lifetime warranties, so maybe you're willing to pay a little bit of premium for a warranty and those type of things.
And made in America too.
Yeah, and Selkirk's made in America if that's important to you and those type of things. But we, you know, we're doing these things to kind of share what our experience has been. You know, as owners of 14 paddles or so, even
How
probably
embarrassing.
probably. Well, I think after you get started and you're playing and you're starting to get some skill development and you start thinking to yourself, well, you know, I'm having trouble getting my returns deep, or, you know, or my ball's going too deep. That's when you can start to think about power versus control. And so maybe you need a paddle, this being one, that'll give you a little bit more power because you have the inability maybe to develop that power yourself right now. So you look for a paddle with a little bit more power. Or maybe like what happened to me, I was putting everything out on the court, so I immediately started looking more towards control paddles. And so that ultimately led me to the 20 millimeter Selkirk Control Air Lux. But since I went to the Lux, my skills continue to improve. I'm learning how to adjust my grip on the paddle. So that's why I think I'm ready for a more power-oriented paddle, because through the change in my grip pressure, I'm able to get the control that I need to do drop volleys and those type of things. So again, I would hate to be brand new trying to figure out what paddle to buy these days. Again, I would recommend you start off somewhere in the $100 or less range and play for a while, start to develop some of your skills, and then try to figure out from there, what are you lacking? Are you lacking control? Or are you lacking power? And then just maybe your next paddle tries to fill that gap. So you're lacking power, so you go to a more power-oriented paddle. You give up a little control, but you get that a little bit more power.
To me, it seems like the width of the paddle really determines the power. So if you start with a 14 millimeter, you're going to have more power than you will with a 20 millimeter that's going to absorb your shot. So that's really what
or
it
even
is.
a 16 millimeter where there's a lot of like the AMA Chronos.
Yeah.
Again, the link is in the AMA Sport Chronos. The link is in our video description. That's a 16 millimeter.
I think that's the best balance. It's not, you don't,
Yeah.
It's kind of like in between, and I think that's where I would start.
Yeah. I mean, I was surprised with the Halo for being a 13 millimeter paddle, how cushy, kind of, we say, you know, it's kind of cushy or plush. I was kind of surprised. Again, $140. But yeah, again, we wanted to point out that maybe there's a store in your area that has a demo program. Like, we're very fortunate with Zales over in Foster City. So I was able to demo the Power Air. Or again, maybe ask your friends if you see them with a paddle, ask them if you can use it for a couple of games, and maybe you can get by over the years and buying a lot less paddles than what we've purchased. But again, we learn each time we try a new paddle. We learn something about our older paddles when we play with a different paddle, and so I don't know. All right, what do you think? That's about it. For you that are keeping up with what's happening in the pickleball world, the USA Pickleball has decertified the Joola Gen 3 paddles. There's some confusion about why they've done that. I did play with someone that had a Joola Gen 3 Magnus paddle on Friday. That thing is a rocket launcher. I'm glad I had my Wiley X Boss protective eyewear. But if you're thinking about purchasing a Joola paddle, you might want to look for the announcement from the USA Pickleball that does certification for paddles. If you look down here, you'll see USA Pickleball approved on a lot of paddles. Right now, you might want to hesitate purchasing Gen 3 Joola until there's a little bit more clarity about what's going on with those paddles. Other than that, I think that's about it. Anything closing?
No, like, share, and subscribe if you like our channel.
Okay, we went a little bit long here today, but again, we're trying to share what knowledge we have around our paddles as rec players that hopefully you find it helpful. If you do, please leave a comment or hit that like button. Those likes are very important to us. Again, always check out the links in our video descriptions. Other than that, thanks for dropping into the channel.
See you on the court.
See you on the courts.